No roads, no wheels, no horses, no maps. Just 2 bare feet and thousands of miles of unknown land ahead. Before the horse was ever tamed, before the wheel was ever rolled, ancient humans were already crossing oceans, trading goods across hundreds of miles, navigating by stars, and covering distances that would exhaust a modern athlete. The real question isn't how they survived the journey. The real question is, how did they know where they were going? Stick around, because point 5 is going to completely change how you think about what primitive actually means. Let's start with the most underestimated fact about ancient human travel, the sheer physical distance these people covered on a daily basis. 2 major studies published in the Journal of Human Evolution compared the leg bones of ancient humans and Neanderthals against modern human skeletons, including modern long-distance runners and recent hunter-gatherer groups. What they found was staggering. Ancient humans and Neanderthals showed levels of physical stress in their bones that we simply do not see in any human group that came after them. Not in modern athletes, not in recent hunter-gatherers, not in anyone. These people weren't just walking to survive. They were physically operating at a level that by today's standards would qualify as extreme endurance sport every single day, just as a baseline of normal life. So before we even get into the boats, the star maps, and the 300-mile trade routes, understand this first. The human body itself was the original long-distance vehicle, and ancient humans used it in a way nobody since has come close to matching. Here's a fact that should make your brain stop for a second. Stone tools have been found on the Indonesian island of Flores, an island that has never, at any point in geological history, been connected to the mainland by land. Not during ice ages, when sea levels dropped, not ever. The only way to reach Flores is by crossing open ocean, and those stone tools date back nearly 1 million years. Nobody knows exactly what they used to cross. No boat has ever been found from that era. The leading theory is that they lashed bamboo together into simple rafts, materials that would rot away completely over thousands of years, leaving no trace. But here's what we do know. Ancient humans were intentionally crossing open stretches of ocean, not accidentally drifting, but deliberately navigating, at least 1 million years ago. That's 995,000 years before the Egyptian pyramids were built. By 65,000 years ago, modern humans made a 55-mile open ocean crossing from Asia to Australia in groups large enough to sustain a population once they arrived. They didn't just cross. They planned it, organized it, built something to float on, and navigated open water with no GPS and no landmarks in sight. When most people think ancient humans traveling with animals, they picture horses, maybe donkeys. Almost nobody ever mentions dogs. But long before any large animal was domesticated for travel, ancient humans were already using dogs, their earliest domesticated animal, to carry supplies and small loads during long migrations and treks. Dogs were essentially the world's first backpacks on legs. This happened thousands of years before horses were tamed. The horse came much later. It was bigger and faster, yes. But the original animal transport system was already running, long before anyone ever climbed on a horse's back. And it ran on 4 small legs and a wagging tail. Indigenous Australians used what are called song lines. These were incredibly detailed, memorized maps of the landscape, encoding routes, water sources, landmarks, dangerous areas and distances across thousands of kilometers of Australian terrain. But they weren't written down. They weren't drawn on clay tablets. They were stored in songs. Specific songs described specific stretches of land in such precise detail that a person who had learned the right songs could navigate across country they had never physically visited, simply by following the lyrical description of the landscape in the correct order. Researchers who have tested surviving songlines against actual geographical features have found them to be remarkably accurate, matching real terrain, with a level of detail that suggests thousands of years of refinement. This system is estimated to be at least 10,000 years old, possibly much older. Ancient humans didn't need a map because the map was alive inside their memory, passed from person to person in song. Archaeologists have found obsidian, a volcanic rock sharper than surgical steel, used for tools and weapons, at sites hundreds of kilometers away, from the nearest volcanic source where obsidian actually forms. At sites in northern Iraq, obsidian has been found that originated from a source over 300 miles away. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't someone wandering and happening to pick up a rock. This was organized, intentional, long-distance supply and trade, happening before any wheeled vehicle existed. These people weren't primitively wandering from place to place. They were running structured economies across continental distances using their feet as the only vehicle available. Long before any compass was invented, Pacific Island navigators were traveling thousands of miles across open ocean in wooden canoes and landing exactly where they intended to go. They memorized the rising and setting positions of over 150 individual stars. They read the direction and pattern of ocean swells beneath their canoes. They tracked the flight paths of specific bird species that only appear near land. They noticed subtle changes in the color and temperature of the water. All of this knowledge, enough to navigate the entire Pacific Ocean with accuracy that modern sailors find genuinely impressive, existed entirely inside the human mind. No instruments, no paper, no technology. Ancient humans were precision navigators, operating at a level that took the rest of the world centuries of instrument development to eventually match. The standard story most people learned in school goes like this. Ancient humans walked from Asia to North America across a land bridge during the last ice age, when sea levels were low enough to expose a strip of land connecting the two continents. That's true, but it may not be the whole story. Archaeological evidence found in Monteverde, Chile, dates human settlement there to at least 18,500 years ago. That date is a problem for the land bridge-only theory, because Monteverde is in southern South America, thousands of miles south of where the land bridge would have been. Getting there on foot from the land bridge in that time frame is nearly impossible. Some researchers now believe a second group of ancient humans may have traveled south along the Pacific coastline by boat, island hopping and coast hugging their way down from Asia into the Americas. If that's true, then the Americas weren't just settled by people walking in through the back door. They were also reached by ancient mariners navigating the Pacific coast, making the original settlement of the Americas, a combined land and sea operation tens of thousands of years before Columbus ever existed. The Inca Empire at its peak had no horses. They had never seen one. Yet they ran one of the most efficient long-distance communication and delivery systems in the ancient world. They used a relay network of specially trained runners called chasqui, stationed at posts every few miles along thousands of kilometers of mountain road. Each runner would sprint their section at full speed, hand off the message or package to the next runner, and the chain would continue without stopping. Using this system, fresh fish caught on the Pacific coast could be delivered to the Inca Emperor in the mountains, 150 miles away, in under 24 hours. Messages could travel 1,500 miles in under a week, and they did it through mountain terrain, at altitude, with no horses, no wheels, and no mechanical assistance of any kind. Here's the twist nobody expects, and it's the one that reframes everything we've covered today. When horses were first domesticated, around 5,500 years ago, it didn't immediately change travel for most people. Horses were expensive. They required specific grazing land, specific care, specific skills to ride, and significant resources to maintain. For the vast majority of ordinary ancient humans, the arrival of the horse changed nothing at all for a very long time. They kept walking, they kept sailing, they kept running relay systems and memorizing songs and reading stars. The horse changed everything moment, was real, but it was slow, uneven, and completely bypassed most of the world's population for generations after it began. So here's the real answer to the question this video started with. How did ancient humans travel far distances before discovering the horse? They walked farther than any modern human can sustain. They crossed oceans 1 million years before anyone assumed they could. They used dogs as pack animals, songs as maps, stars as compasses, and relay runners as their internet. They didn't need the horse because they hadn't yet realized there was a limit to what the human body and the human mind could do on their own. The horse didn't make travel possible for ancient humans. They were already doing things with 2 feet, a memory, and a bamboo raft that most people today couldn't replicate with modern gear. The horse just made it faster. And honestly, for most of human history, fast wasn't even the point. Getting there, knowing the way, reading the stars, singing the map, that was the point. If this made you see ancient humans differently, not as lost wandering primitives, but as precision navigators and long-distance athletes operating at a level we've never matched since, that's exactly what this channel is built to do. Drop a comment telling me which point surprised you most, because I genuinely want to know which one broke your brain. Subscribe if you want more of this. Next video is already up on screen, and I promise it hits just as hard.